The Plaza Hotel's grand ballroom sparkled with crystal chandeliers and old money, a perfect backdrop for my sister Diana's wedding to Manhattan's most eligible bachelor. I adjusted my understated gray silk dress, beautifully cut but deliberately simple, and made my way through the pre-ceremony crowd. "Oh darling, you came." My mother's voice carried that particular tone reserved for disappointments. She air-kissed my cheek, careful not to smudge her perfect makeup. "Though couldn't you have made more of an effort? It's your sister's big day." I touched the delicate fabric of my dress, custom-made in Milan last week. I thought this was appropriate. Appropriate for a business meeting maybe. Diana appeared in a cloud of white tulle and diamonds, her wedding dress probably costing more than most people's homes. Couldn't afford a proper outfit? I told Mom we should have helped you with the expenses. The irony made me smile. While they'd been planning this wedding for a year, I'd been building an aviation empire in secret. My fleet of luxury helicopters and private jets served executives across 3 continents, though my family still thought I was struggling with a small charter business. "Speaking of expenses," my mother lowered her voice, "your father mentioned you borrowed against your condo again. Darling, if you're in trouble." "I'm fine, Mom." I checked my phone as another message came through. My London office needed urgent approval for a $50 million acquisition. "Fine." Diana scoffed, adjusting her tiara. "Is that why you're wearing last season's dress to my wedding? Even my bridesmaids are in Valentino." I glanced at the lineup of identical pink dresses, each bridesmaid a perfect example of what my family considered success. Married to bankers, lawyers, or trust fund managers. "At least she's not wearing that awful pantsuit from Cousin Emma's wedding," my Aunt Margaret chimed in, swirling her champagne. "Though I suppose when you're running a, what do you call it? Air taxi service." "Something like that," I replied, checking my watch. The board meeting would start soon whether I was ready or not. "You could have had a real career," Diana sighed, her diamond bracelet catching the light. "Daddy offered you a position at his firm. Instead you're playing with toy planes." My phone buzzed again. The acquisition deal was heating up and my presence was required. I'd planned this, of course, the timing, the entrance, everything. "I really should take this call," I said, stepping away from the group. "During my wedding?" Diana's voice rose. "This is exactly why you're still single. No sense of family priorities." I walked toward the hotel's grand entrance, speaking clearly into my phone. "Yes, proceed with Operation Bridal Suite." "Operation what?" My mother called after me, but the distant sound of helicopter rotors drowned out her voice. The wedding guests rushed to the windows as 3 sleek black helicopters appeared, each bearing my company's distinctive gold logo. They descended onto the Plaza's helipad in perfect formation. "What is the meaning of this?" my father demanded, his face reddening. "Who authorized?" "Sorry, emergency board meeting," I smiled, straightening my cheap dress. "Don't worry about the wedding gift, Diana. It's in the second helicopter. Just a little something I picked up. The resort in Maldives you couldn't book for your honeymoon. I bought it last week." The silence that fell over the ballroom was worth every second of their previous condescension. Then my sister's perfect makeup cracked as she realized what I'd just said. You bought the resort?" "The entire chain, actually." I headed for the door as my pilot approached with a portfolio requiring signatures. "Oh, and Mom? About that condo loan. I own the building now. All 30 floors of it." The rotors continued their rhythmic beat as my family struggled to process this revelation. But they hadn't seen anything yet. The real surprise was still to come. "This is ridiculous," Diana's fiancé Preston stepped forward. "You expect us to believe you own Elite Airways? The company that's buying up every luxury aviation service in Europe." I pulled a business card from my clutch, matte black with embossed gold lettering. "Elite Airways? No, they work for me. Skyline Global Holdings is my parent company. Elite is just one of our recent acquisitions." The wedding planner rushed over, panic evident on her face. "Miss Diana, we need to start the ceremony in 10 minutes. "The ceremony can wait," my father interrupted, his banker's instincts finally kicking in. "Alexandra, what exactly is going on here?" I held up one finger as my phone buzzed again. "James, tell the board I'll be there in 5. And make sure the Tokyo team is ready for the satellite call." I ended the call and faced my family. What's going on is that while you were all pitying my struggling charter business, I was building the largest private aviation network in the Northern Hemisphere. But your little office in Queens, my mother stammered, was a front. I smiled. Our real headquarters takes up the top 10 floors of the building you're always complaining I can't afford to live in. You know, the one with the perfect view of Central Park. Diana's perfect composure cracked completely. The Skyline Tower? You work in the Skyline Tower. I own the Skyline Tower, I corrected her. Along with similar properties in London, Dubai and Singapore. Though I suppose that's just me playing with toy planes again, right, Diana? The wedding guests were openly staring now, phones out, undoubtedly Googling my name. The society pages would be buzzing within hours. Miss Alexandra, my pilot called from the doorway. The board is waiting. Right. I turned to Diana, whose mascara was starting to run. Congratulations on your wedding, sis. The resort staff will be expecting you next week. I've arranged for one of my toy planes to fly you there. It's the one with the gold-plated interior you tried to charter last month but couldn't afford. That was your jet? Preston's face went pale. The one with the waiting list longer than the Hermes Birkin? All 15 of them are mine, actually. I checked my watch again. Now if you'll excuse me, I have to go close a billion-dollar deal. Oh, and Mom. I paused at the door. This business meeting dress? It's a one-of-a-kind piece. The designer made it specifically for the woman who bought controlling interest in his fashion house last spring. The look on their faces as I walked out was priceless. Behind me, I could hear the whispers starting, the rumors spreading, the entire carefully orchestrated wedding descending into chaos as Manhattan's elite realized they'd been snubbing one of the wealthiest women in the city. My heels clicked across the marble floor as I headed for the helipad, where 3 pilots stood at attention. The board meeting would start soon, but I had time for one last glance over my shoulder. Through the grand windows, I could see my sister's perfect wedding imploding in real time. The board meeting was brief but dramatic. By the time I returned to the Plaza Hotel, the wedding reception was in full swing, though not quite in the way Diana had planned. Instead of being the center of attention, my sister sat at the head table, staring at her phone as headlines about Skyline Global's latest acquisition flooded the financial news. $2.1 billion deal, I said, sliding into the seat beside her. Sorry it took so long. Negotiations with the Europeans always run late. Diana looked up, her perfect makeup now slightly smeared. Why didn't you tell us? Tell you what? That while you were mocking my little charter business, I was building an empire. That every time you offered to help me financially, I was closing deals worth more than your fiancé's yearly bonus. Speaking of Preston, he was across the room, huddled with his investment banker colleagues, all of them frantically typing on their phones. No doubt they were trying to figure out how they'd missed such a massive player in their precious financial world. Your sister's right, my mother appeared, sliding into a chair. Her earlier condescension had been replaced by something that looked almost like awe. We're family. We should have known. Really? I pulled out my phone, bringing up a photo gallery. Like when I tried to tell you about my first major contract 3 years ago, and you interrupted to show Diana's engagement ring to the entire dinner party? I swiped through the photos. My company's global headquarters, the fleet of luxury aircraft, the properties around the world. Or when I mentioned buying my first helicopter company, and Aunt Margaret suggested I focus on finding a husband instead? We didn't understand, my mother began. No, I cut her off. You didn't want to understand. It didn't fit your narrative of success. In your world, I was the failure who couldn't even dress properly for a wedding. The irony hung heavy in the air as another group of guests walked past, openly staring at me now. My simple gray dress had suddenly become the most talked-about outfit at the reception. But now we know, Diana said quietly. And we're proud. Are you? I smiled. Are you proud now that you know I'm rich? Or are you just embarrassed that you spent years pitying me in public? Before she could answer, Preston appeared at our table, his face flushed with either champagne or anxiety. Alexandra, I was wondering if we could discuss some potential business opportunities. My office takes meetings by appointment only, I replied coolly. Though I should warn you, we just bought your firm's aviation division. You might want to check your inbox. His face went pale. What? The deal closed during my emergency board meeting. Your CO signed the papers an hour ago. I stood up, smoothing my dress. Consider it part of your wedding gift. Starting Monday, you'll be working for me. The band chose that moment to start playing, but few people were dancing. Instead, the ballroom had turned into an impromptu networking event, with every guest trying to catch my eye or edge closer to our table. My father approached, looking more uncertain than I'd ever seen him. Alexandra, about that position at my firm. You mean the junior analyst role you offered me last Christmas? I checked my phone again. I'm afraid I'm a bit overqualified now. But I might have an opening for you. An opening? Skyline Global is expanding into private wealth management. We could use someone with traditional banking experience. I paused. Of course, you'd have to interview like anyone else. The mighty Richard Harrison, who'd never worked for anyone but himself, actually seemed to be considering it. I'd be interested. Excellent. My HR team will contact you. I turned back to Diana, whose perfect wedding day had turned into something entirely unexpected. Now about that honeymoon resort. You really bought it? She whispered. The entire chain. 18 properties across 12 countries. I pulled out an envelope. Your suite is confirmed for next week. I'm sending my personal jet, the one with the bathroom bigger than your first apartment. The whispers around us grew louder as more wedding guests realized who they were really sharing the room with. My mother's society friends were practically tripping over themselves to catch my attention, their earlier disdain magically transformed into desperate admiration. But the real power play was just beginning. I stood up, straightening my designer dress as my phone buzzed with another notification. If you'll excuse me, I smiled. I have another meeting. Someone's trying to buy the Plaza Hotel. I paused for effect. I should probably tell them it's no longer for sale. Why not? Diana asked, though I think she already knew the answer. Because as of this morning I own it. I turned to leave, then looked back one last time. Consider it my real wedding gift. After all, what's better than getting married at the Plaza? Owning it. 1 month after Diana's wedding, I sat in my penthouse office atop the Skyline Tower, watching the sunset paint Manhattan's skyline in shades of gold. The view of Central Park stretched out below, a green oasis in the concrete jungle where I'd built my empire. My assistant knocked softly. Your family is here for the dinner meeting. I smiled, remembering how these monthly family dinners used to be held at my parents' house, where they'd spend hours questioning my life choices. Now they came to me. Send them in. They entered with a different air now. Gone was the condescension, replaced by a mixture of respect and lingering amazement. Diana and Preston had just returned from their honeymoon at my resort, sporting fresh tans and humbled attitudes. Alexandra, my father nodded, taking in the spectacular office with its wall of screens displaying Skyline Global's worldwide operations. The Tokyo acquisition closed today, I said, gesturing to the leather seats around my conference table. And Preston, your transition team has the reports I requested? My brother-in-law straightened his tie. Yes. The aviation division's numbers are exceeding projections under the new structure. Good. I turned to Diana, who was studying me with new eyes. And how was the resort? Amazing, she admitted. The staff told us how you transformed the entire chain in less than a year. The sustainability initiatives, the local community programs. Business isn't just about profit, I replied, pressing a button that dimmed the windows and activated the presentation screens. It's about impact. My mother leaned forward. Darling, about the Plaza Hotel. The renovation plans are approved. We're turning the East Wing into a technology innovation center. Free coding classes for underprivileged girls. I smiled. Remember when you said I was wasting my time teaching computer skills at the community center? She had the grace to look embarrassed. We were wrong about so many things. You were, I agreed, pulling up the latest company statistics. But now you have a choice. You can either remain stuck in your old worldview, or you can join me in building something meaningful. What do you mean? My father asked. I distributed tablets around the table. Skyline Global is launching a charitable foundation. Education, technology access, entrepreneurship support. I'm offering you all positions on the board. Us. Diana looked surprised. But we don't know anything about. You'll learn, I interrupted. Like I did. No special treatment, no shortcuts. You'll work with our teams, understand our mission, earn your places. Preston scrolled through the proposal. These numbers. The foundation's budget is larger than my former firm's annual revenue. Money is only valuable when it creates change, I said, standing to face the city lights. Remember all those society events where you showcased your wealth? Let's showcase what wealth can do instead. My mother dabbed at her eyes. You've become extraordinary. I always was, Mom. You just couldn't see it through your designer glasses. The next hour was spent reviewing plans, assigning responsibilities, setting expectations. My family learned more about business strategy in that meeting than in all their years of cocktail party networking. As the evening wound down, Diana lingered behind the others. That dress, she said quietly. The one you wore to my wedding. You knew exactly what you were doing, didn't you? Sometimes the best statement is understated, I replied. Besides, the headlines wrote themselves. Billionaire crashes society wedding in simple gray dress. She laughed, then grew serious. I'm sorry. For everything. I know. I touched her arm. Now prove it by doing something worthwhile with this opportunity. After they left, I stood at my window watching the city lights twinkle. My phone buzzed. Photos from the resort Diana had just visited. Local girls learning to code in the new computer lab I'd built there, their faces bright with possibility. Success wasn't about proving my family wrong anymore. It was about showing them a different way to be right. My assistant appeared with the next day's schedule. The Young Entrepreneurs Mentoring Program starts at 9 a.m. Perfect. I smiled, thinking of all the other failures out there, building their own empires in silence. Oh, and send a memo to the Plaza staff. The next time someone shows up in a simple gray dress, don't assume anything.